Where will you be eating? I'm Stephanie Poole, and just how successful are these restaurants during homecoming weekend?
Another apology post? I'm Sharon McDuffie, and I have the reason why Ole Miss Chancellor had to post an apology post on Facebook.
How can one professor use her voice to implement the importance of this year's election? My name is Sydney Moore, and I have the story coming up.
Welcome to Take 30 News. I'm Stephanie Poole.
And I'm Cash Matlock.
Midterm elections are just 5 days away. Today we have team coverage of the 2018 election.
And we begin with a well-known Republican candidate who's being endorsed by someone who's even more well-known.
She's always had my back. She's always had your back. And a vote for Cindy is a vote for me and make America great again.
Cindy Hyde-Smith is currently filling in for former Mississippi Senator Thad Cochran, who recently retired due to health issues. Cochran had 2 years left in his term, and on November 6th, Mississippians will vote to see who will finish out the remainder of Cochran's term.
She wants to create more jobs and a better economy, and she is in favor of fewer regulations, fewer government regulations.
Melissa Scallon is the communications director for the Cindy Hyde-Smith campaign, and she says having President Trump endorse Cindy wasn't planned.
He tweets his endorsements, and that's when we got the tweet, was at the end of August. So she was very excited by that.
And Chris McDaniel is a fellow Republican candidate who's running against Cindy Hyde-Smith, and since the Trump endorsement, McDaniel has been retweeting where Trump had previously endorsed him for Senate in 2014. McDaniel says he's been a Republican all of his life, and he claims that this makes him more trustworthy than Hyde-Smith.
Senator Hyde-Smith was a Democrat. She was a Democrat until 2010.
But despite this, Scallon says Cindy Hyde-Smith has always voted for conservative policies.
And her record speaks for itself. She is a lifelong conservative and has voted that way throughout her political career.
Democratic candidate Mike Espy was the first African-American congressman, and he also served in President Bill Clinton's cabinet as the Secretary of Agriculture. He's claiming this experience makes him more qualified since Cindy Hyde-Smith has never held a federal office.
He was not on either in the House of Representatives or the Senate. So he doesn't have that experience either.
If elected on November 6th, Cindy Hyde-Smith would be the first woman to be elected to the Senate in Mississippi. But Scallon says that's not her main concern.
She would rather, when people ask her about that, she would rather be recognized for her record than that.
We've reached out to Hyde-Smith's opponents, Democrat Mike Espy and Republican Chris McDaniel, but we didn't hear anything back from either of those campaigns.
Ole Miss Chancellor is having to put out another apology post just weeks after racist tweets from a top donor. Take 30 Sharon McDuffie has a reason why. Sharon, what is going on at Ole Miss now?
The post said, don't just interrupt a center's meal, y'all. Put your whole damn finger in their salad. Take their apps and distribute them to the other diners. Bring boxes and take their food home with you on the way out. Thomas didn't make it clear which lawmaker he was referring to, but this tweet came after the Senate vote that confirmed Judge Brett Kavanaugh as a Supreme Court judge. This tweet got the attention of several lawmakers in Mississippi. Republican Senator Chris McDaniel spoke out on Facebook twice, saying another threat from another low-life liberal. This time it's from an Ole Miss professor, discussing it's time for disciplinary actions. He wrote another post several days later saying disgusting behavior by an Ole Miss professor. Ole Miss must take action. Even Republican Governor Phil Bryant tweeted saying this is troubling and disappointing to see from one of our university professors. I stopped 2 students around campus to see what they thought about the professor's tweets.
It's vulgar. I don't necessarily think that's his place to say something like that, especially on social media. He's getting himself into something that he probably won't be able to handle.
Other ways that you can go about handling a problem.
I did reach out to the school and ask them some questions. Some of the questions were, what are they planning on doing with Mr. Thomas? Is he going to face any disciplinary actions? Do they have a social media policy in place for faculty and staff? If not, are they going to get one? I haven't heard back from the school, but with all the backlash, Chancellor Vittler, without naming Mr. Thomas, issued a statement on his Facebook page. It said a recent social media post by a UM faculty member did not reflect the values articulated by the university, such as respect for the dignity of each individual and civility and fairness.
Some people are even commenting on social media that Mr. Thomas should be fired from Ole Miss. Stephanie?
Teaching politics in real time, a MSU political science professor is taking advantage of the historic election.
An assistant professor in American politics takes pride in her profession by using her voice to not only teach political history, but also make sure her students are actively involved in this year's elections.
We're making a big effort to increase voter participation on campus, so to mobilize and engage our students and make them more aware of the issues and why it is important to be civically engaged on campus.
In her campaign politics class, she focuses on what political parties want when they run campaigns and as it pertains to her students.
We are scientists, so we evaluate whatever we see based on evidence. So we look at campaign ads, we look at the research, we see what does research say about campaigns, what do we see happening in real life, so how can we contemplate this too, and what do you see based on your experiences on the field.
Because of the efforts of Professor Marivaki's class and her online websites called MSU All in Democracy Challenge are all tools to help students become more knowledgeable about this year's elections. J.R. Coleman, a senior political science major, described his experience of being one of Marivaki's students and how she has affected his involvement.
I for sure would have been less involved just because I wouldn't have had the outlets that I do now in order to actually get involved on campus. So like in class, we had the election commissioner come and tell us pretty much, if we did want to work the polls, how that process works.
And as far as him taking what he learned and applying it.
Over the summer, I worked on the political campaign, and a lot of the things that we used within that campaign is a lot of things that I've learned in Marivaki's class, and I can look back on the tactics that we used and see how that applies and what she's been teaching us.
We hope that if we try to replicate this more, we're going to have a bigger impact on campus.
A replication to spread more awareness toward political elections.
Some of Dr. Marivaki's students will also be tweeting their reactions on election night using hashtag MSUisAllIn as soon as the results come.
And after the break, what police want big kids to know before heading out for Halloween, and we'll take a look at your Halloween forecast.
A baby's arrival can be one of the most exciting times in a family's life. It can also be one of the most anxious, especially if the child's development is hindered by medical challenges that create more questions than answers. At Mississippi State University, we're groundbreakers in the study of CHARGE syndrome, a genetic condition that leads to a host of life-threatening birth defects. Our research teams are uncovering breakthroughs in treatment and prevention with a goal of greater understanding that leads to better care. We're also providing crucial support resources for parents and helping physicians around the globe gain awareness so symptoms can be detected and addressed earlier. By engaging in this innovative analysis and therapy, we're not only improving outcomes, we're unlocking brighter futures.
It's Halloween, and folks in and around Mississippi State know that big kids like to dress up too.
And whether you're dressing up as a ghost, a goblin, or a ghoul, Take 30's Luke Lutz shares some things that police say we all need to know before heading out tonight.
Halloween is that time to where people, I won't say experiment with different things, but they do go out of the norm of who they are.
Big events in Starkville like Game Days, Bulldog Bash, and Halloween put Emmett Johnson Jr. and the Mississippi State Police Department on high alert.
we just try to prepare our guys, just have them ready for it. It is something that's it's a busy time for us though.
Johnson had advice for people going out this Halloween on how to stay safe and keep out of trouble.
One thing they should do: don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. Don't do any other type of foreign substances and drive. Be leery about what's going on around you. While you're riding through town, make sure that you're looking out for different things, especially when you're riding through neighborhoods. Kids can run out on the road anywhere. So just be leery about the kids. If they are going to be partying with friends or maybe going to house parties, just make sure they're watching out and using the buddy system. Make sure that you're maintaining yourself. Make sure you hadn't consumed too much alcohol. Make sure that one of those friends are stepping up saying, hey man, no, we're not going to drive. We're going to go ahead and get a taxi, Uber, Lyft. You got so many different other alternatives around here in Starkville to be able to get transportation. They got golf carts that'll come pick you up.
The thought of something bad happening on a night out can seem terrifying, but there are a few tips. For example, always monitor your beverage. Get a ride to and from wherever you're going. And most importantly, bring a friend.
You want to play a game?
Happy Halloween. With Take 30 News, I'm Luke Lutz.
And if you're going out this evening, don't forget to bring some water. Today's high was 81. And if you don't want to overheat while walking in your costumes, tomorrow will be much cooler thanks to some overnight showers that may stick with us throughout the day. And after that, it's smooth sailing into homecoming weekend. And weather for Saturday's football game will be pleasant, but rain is forecasted to move back into the area Sunday. And as always, thanks to MSU Campus Connect Weather for that forecast. Well, there's a group of college students behind a startup company, but this one is probably not what you're thinking. Take 30's Brock St. Clair has the story.
You've probably heard the stories of college students starting up their own tech company, maybe their own catering business. But what about their own theater company?
Okay, so that melody there goes. The basket cases are entirely student-run, Mississippi State student-run, out of this building right here. And this building is on Fire Station Road. It's about 10 minutes from campus. And that's because basket cases are not university affiliated at all. And it's no secret that university student organizations benefit from funding opportunity, marketing assistance, managerial assistance. So why go solo?
We can just have complete creative freedom, and we don't have to worry about still being under someone.
Emma Denson is an MSU senior and a co-founder of Basket Cases. Since its inception just over a year ago, Emma spends any and all of her free time with the Basket Cases working on one of their original productions, and she says they're getting the hang of it.
We kind of have our groove as a theater company now. Ultimately, we want this to be a long-term thing, a long-term company and stuff.
Going forward, the Basket Cases intend on bringing more original productions to Starkville and the Golden Triangle. I'm Brock St. Clair for Take 30 News.
The Basket Cases, in partnership with Starkville Community Theater and the Arts Council, premiere their next show, Frost, on Friday, November 30th.
Banking on Bulldog fans, with MSU homecoming weekend just a few days away, lots of local business owners are getting ready for a boom in business.
So homecoming is not your typical game day weekend. Our sales will go up about 50%. This being a new location, we're still drawing a good amount of business on the weekend, on a non-game day weekend. But yeah, it's about a 50% spike in sales.
With mugshots ready for the influx of customers, Sarah over at Stagger Inn is also ready for homecoming weekend.
But on weekends like this weekend during homecoming, we get probably about $1,500 extra in sales, so it helps out a lot. It's usually about $500 on a normal day, and then when they come here, it's a lot more.
Bulldog Burger declined being on camera, but did comment saying that they do expect a 100% rise in sales over the weekend. All three restaurants are expected to see at least 50 to 100% increase in sales this homecoming weekend. With an already booming business for a regular weekend, Stagger Inn expects to see 75%, mugshots 50%, and here at Bulldog Burger, 100% increase for point of sale. The only question is, where will you be eating for homecoming weekend?
Heavy foot traffic on game day weekends, not just game day, and that's what we expect from homecoming too.
Additions are coming to Hail State Hoops. We have a story after the break.
We all depend on accurate weather forecasts to plan our day. That's why Mississippi State University is teaching students to forecast the future using real-world news sets as classrooms, putting scientific discoveries in meteorology to the test, while honing on-air reporting skills real-time with local TV stations. And we do it so well that at any given moment across the country, 1 in 3 weather forecasts are being delivered by MSU-trained meteorologists who are helping people make crucial decisions that impact their safety, working to ensure business continuity, and in many cases, saving lives. Predicting the future? That's what we're preparing for every single day so that you can prepare for your day.
Well, the home of Hell State Hoops is getting a renovation. Plans were announced at Saturday's football game to expand and update the venue. The renovation will include grand lobbies at both the east and west entrance that will feature direct views into the seating bowl and a new club level with nearly 600 seats. Now, the concourse will also be widened and expanded concession options and a new walk-in team store. A completion date has not been announced.
The Ulysses S. Grant Presidential Library and Museum has been gaining a lot of attention since its grand opening last year. Even though it's located on the 4th floor of Mitchell Memorial Library, some people feel that it has been tucked away and somewhat hard to find. That's not actually the case. Librarians say this presidential library has no issues bringing in a decent-sized crowd.
Universities in the entire country do have a presidential library. So in that sense, we're part of a very elite group that includes Harvard, Texas A&M, Texas. And so for that very reason, they should be proud that we're one of those universities. We can always get more people to come in, but so far we've been extremely successful at drawing the crowds into the Grant Presidential Library. I believe we're approaching 8,000 and we haven't really been open a full year quite yet. And the types of crowds that we get here are the typical people who either visit presidential libraries and want to just check this one off their checklist, or school groups, family events. A lot of times during football games, home football games here, we get quite a large crowd from the visiting team. They make it a point to come visit the Grant Presidential Library. And so we're looking at kids from as young as 2 to 98, so to speak.
The Ulysses S. Grant Presidential Library is open from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays.
Take 30 Sports is next. Stay with us.
What drives you? What pushes you forward? Is it an appetite to be the best or a calling to make a difference? For those of us here at Mississippi State University, it's both. We're designing a future where cutting-edge hybrid technology isn't imported from overseas, but exported from our own backyard. We're working toward a day when solutions to energy independence move at 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds and are as simple as charging a phone. A day when fuel economy and environmentally friendly are viewed as less of a compromise and look more like this. For us, turning heads in the auto industry is great, but living up to the hype is even better. That's because it's about more than simply envisioning the future. It's about getting there. And here at Mississippi State, we know just the ride to take. You know the scene in those popular TV crime shows when the investigators show up? The one where they scratch their heads while trying to figure out who committed the homicide and when? At Mississippi State University, we're solving mysteries behind real-life crime scenes with forensic research that's a first of its kind. Teaming with microbiologists from around the country, we're examining microscopic bacteria that can help solve real murders. So far, our partnership with a major metropolitan medical examiner is yielding results with more than 200 real-life crime samples analyzed. We're learning how microbiomes change and relocate, uncovering evidence in criminal investigations by better pinpointing time of death. Way more exciting than being a TV detective. We're finding crucial answers when they're needed most. Solving mysteries with science, That's worth watching.
Well, this past Sunday at noon, Mississippi State's volleyball team faced off against the Florida Gators in a heated match. Although these young ladies came close to winning all 3 sets, they were still bested by the Gators. The team played well and fought hard throughout the game, and fans agree. MSU fans Alex Mount said he loves supporting the Bulldogs. He's always been a fan of their sports program. The team's next game will be here at the Grist on Friday night, November 2nd at 7 o'clock p.m. And if you can't make it to the game, don't worry. It will be aired on SEC Network Plus. Well, your Mississippi State Bulldogs pulled up and showed out this past Saturday as they took down the Texas A&M Aggies. There was a lot of talk last week about with Nick Fitzgerald's passing ability, but he put some of those critics to rest Saturday, earning co-SEC Offensive Player of the Week honors. Also having a big game was Stephen Guidry and Osiris Mitchell, as both were able to bring in touchdown receptions. And you know that the talented MSU defense held down their end of the deal as they only allowed 1 touchdown to the Aggies. After Saturday's night's 28-13 victory, they are now the only defense in the nation to allow less than 10 touchdowns. Well, the Bulldogs look to continue that trend this weekend on Saturday at 6:30 p.m. as they face Louisiana Tech. The game will be a stripe out. Fans are encouraged to wear either maroon or white, depending on their section. This graphic behind me will be on our Twitter and Facebook if you want a closer look. Well, also in football news, last night the College Football Playoff Committee announced their first round of rankings. The 13-member committee ranked Mississippi State 18th in the nation. The top 4 teams are Alabama, Clemson, LSU, and Notre Dame, respectively. Well, just outside the top 4 is Michigan and Georgia. Overall, there are 7 SEC teams in the top 25 rankings. Well, fall ball has officially started for MSU's softball team. This weekend, the team was back home on their news park for their first doubleheader of the year. They faced off against the Itawamba Community College. These young ladies definitely bested ICC's team. The Bulldogs won their first game 10-1 and won their second game 14-0. The team's next games will be November 9th and November 10th. Both days will be doubleheaders as well. Friday, November 9th, they will face off here in Starkville against Mississippi College at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock p.m. Well, a new stretch of road that'll save some Mississippi drivers almost 50 minutes. We'll have the details coming up on Take 30 News.
It's been said that where there's water, there's life. For some parts of the world, that simple truth has never been more evident. Fields aren't getting the water they need. Fertilizer is washing into nearby rivers and streams, and harm to the environment is rising. At Mississippi State University, we're working to change this. By designing and implementing better irrigation solutions, we're collecting, conserving, and recycling nutrient-rich water, allowing us to reduce waste, secure the livelihoods of farmers, and pave the way for a safer, cleaner environment for fish and wildlife. But we're not stopping there. We're taking the process developed in our own backyard and applying it to a global stage. So whether it's Israel, the Philippines, or Indianola, Mississippi, we're ensuring simple truths endure, that where there's water, there's life. And where there's ingenuity at work, there's Mississippi State University.
Starkville police arrested a Starkville man on Tuesday morning. Police arrested 24-year-old Shaquille Andrews early Tuesday morning after responding to reports of an individual inside a residence at the block townhomes. Andrew is currently in Oktibbeha County Jail on a $5,000 bond. Officials are asking anyone with information on this contact Golden Triangle Crime Stoppers at 662-494-0190.
Well, Interstate 269 is finally open in Northwest Mississippi. It officially opened from Interstate 55 in DeSoto County to State Route 305 in Marshall County after a ribbon cutting at the Getwell Road interchange near Hernando, Mississippi. And both sitting U.S. senators were on hand for the ribbon cutting. U.S. Senator Roger Wicker and U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. Quote, "This is the realization of a dream," end quote. That was Wicker, and he said that during his remarks. And the road will save upwards of 15 minutes for those driving to Memphis from Tupelo. And big changes are coming to the way students at one university tailgate. So effective immediately, University of South Carolina students will no longer be allowed to drink hard liquor at fraternity tailgate lots before Gamecock football games. And this is according to the state newspaper USC's Interfraternity Council, the governing body that regulates fraternities at the university, agreed to ban all alcoholic drinks with more than 15% alcohol at private fraternity tailgate lots. And according to a letter obtained by the state newspaper, well, fraternities caught violating the ban will face a $30 fine per member and a 1-week suspension from the tailgating lot. And according to the letter, the rule also states each fraternity must have at least 640 bottles of water at tailgates. Well, that is all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week with Thursday's Crew tomorrow.
Yes, and have a safe and happy Halloween.